Also, I've got a whole new campaign going on in ministry that I'd like to at least mention.
Sure.
It's I've got a excuse me a URL I've created called debunkingatheism.net.
Nice.
And I've just really, there's sort of been this flurry of activity in my life with that. I was on a Ron Raj show, and I was on the Non Sequitur show. I was on there specifically to discuss theological issues.
Nice.
And I just felt those really went well. I was on there very much as a friend. I kind of like those people, even though I disagree with everything that they say. You know, I don't have any hostility towards them.
Well, that's good.
It was disagreeing, but very friendly, which was sort of my goal. I was sort of filled with, the love of God kind of thing. I had that vibe going pretty good.
Nice.
When I was on those shows, and the whole love your enemy things, sort of brewing pretty hot in me these days. But anyways, okay.
Where do you want to start?
To get right to the point here, I've got a best friend from high school. I was raised in a church, but I really wasn't engaged, and it was kind of you go and you mess around with your friends and don't pay attention to what's going on. Right. We went to church every single Sunday together, my whole youth from third grade until high school.
Right.
And, then we stayed. This is my best friend. And long story short, I found out, I kind of lost touch with him in 2001. And I found out he became an atheist. Now, I was an atheist then. My atheism died in 2006. And he sort of flipped. And I was sort of very surprised, but not surprised at the same time. Because he was one of those Christians that was really kind of, you do it for appearance, and you do it to be, it's like a Facebook thing, and all that. These are those Christians that just fall away or are very weak, or it's just kind of not a pretty picture.
Right.
And so I wasn't totally surprised, but anyway, I went and met with him recently, and it was an amazing time. I said, hey, what happened? Because he wanted to know what happened with me, how I went from being an atheist to becoming a pastor. And then I want to know what happened to him. His story was a series of tragedies. Really? And he just decided at one point, some of them were quite stunning to do with his family, wife and kids.
Okay. And
he decided, he was driving his car in 2013. He said, no God would allow this. I'm an atheist now. And I didn't do a sales pitch, and I'm a Calvinist theologically, and they don't really believe that. They believe that God is the one who saves. So I don't need to sit there and do some sales pitch, and I can just be his friend.
Sure.
Again, like we were in high school. And so anyway, so that's going on. And so we are sitting in there in a Waffle House in Atlanta talking about atheism and theism for 3.5 hours. And it was amazing. And then I'm going on these shows, and I've been sort of obsessed with this whole atheism movement that's just really on the rise,
right,
and around the world. And the reason it is because the arguments that are being given by atheists, nobody has any responses to. If you go to Matt Dillahunty's show, Ron Raj's show, these are likable people, in my opinion. There's nothing. These aren't evil, dark, twisted, weird people like Christians want to portray them as. Right. They're very friendly, nice. They just want to get the truth. But the thing is nobody's really looked into this set of amazing arguments they have against Christianity and for atheism. And basically, whenever I would go and look into one, I'd find there's a simple explanation that nobody's put out there. And so I just kind of started putting some of them out there here and there. I just put out a big one, probably the biggest one today. Here's an example, just to get right to the point. Now, in the Bible, we've got "Thou shalt not kill" in Exodus 20:13, one of the 10 commandments, the 6th commandment.
Sure.
And then, what does God command all through the whole Bible? Kill all these people all over the place. And so, if you're either a Christian or non-Christian, you're thinking, wait a minute, what's the deal with that? I don't know what to do with that there. Mm-hmm. That's, and the atheist comes along and says your religion is completely absurd. What a complete joke. And can you really blame them? And Christians try to explain their way out of this. And man, the attempts, I was just reading an Answers in Genesis attempt to get out of that contradiction. It's not doing it. They basically fall into, let's change the Bible, what they mean by that is, the translation was wrong. All these experts, 100 world experts in Greek, translating the NIV over 20 years. And, but they all got it wrong, right? They all agree on the word to use, the word kill. But all of a sudden, one guy in a seminary thinks, no, the word should have been capital punishment, not kill. I mean, that's all playing games, So anyway, I came out with on my on debunkingatheism.net. It's all, that's just a page on my website, praiseandlove.net. I put up the video today. There's the most incredible, simple, no messing around, no cutting corners explanation for why exactly God could say, thou shalt not kill, and then command people all over the place, like David and Goliath. David's commanded to kill.
Sure.
It's basically continual throughout, especially in the Old Testament. And there's the most incredibly simple explanation, which I could just explain it in a simple sentence.
Yeah.
Sin is defined as humans violating God's law. The sixth commandment was written for humans, not God. He's not talking about himself. So he can command and work through and command another person to kill another, one person to kill another,
sure,
with no contradiction. There's no logical it may be disturbing to some people, but there's no logical contradiction, which is what atheists all over are really wanting to attack. Right. Say the Christianity is it's an absurd contradiction. Say, no, it's not. You haven't read the Bible carefully enough is the response. God is not talking about himself in Commandment 6. He's talking about people. People can't kill. In other words, I can't kill with my free will. But if God has me kill someone, well, I may go to jail for it. But I mean, this is kind of gets a little weird, this conversation. But back in Old Testament times, if God wants someone to be off the face of the earth and uses another person, there's no contradiction or sin involved, sure, according to the definitions of the Bible. So it's internally, logically consistent. So what I found is that everywhere I look, these amazing contradictions. One gospel says that there was one angel at the tomb when Jesus, it was discovered by the women that Jesus' body was not there. In another gospel, it says there's two angels at the tomb. And I remember when the church I became a pastor at, which I'm not working at, I work in a prison now as a jail pastor. But with the first church I worked at, I remember the pastor always used that example, like, well, the Bible's internally inconsistent. It's not a perfect work. Is there one angel at the tomb or two? Well, I don't know, and I'm not going to lose my salvation over it. And I'm thinking, what are you talking? This is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. There's this, because all I had to do, I taught a Sunday school class on it at that church, and he was actually sitting in it. And I taught on that very subject, and I said, look, this is the most simple. What's everybody doing? Atheists are attacking Christianity as being contradictory, and Christians are sitting there scared and that the atheists are right. All you have to do is look at John 20. It talks about people are running back and forth all day, starting before sunrise, going from the tomb and back and forth, right, coming to get more people and tell them. You look at all the gospels. One gospel says they went before sunrise and there was this many angels, and another one says the sun was up in the air and there's this many angels. Clearly, people are just going back and forth, and there's a different number of angels depending on which time you get there. I mean, there's no contradiction. People are just, a lot of people out there just don't really want to be overtaken by spirit, by Yahweh. I mean, do we believe or not? I mean, I'm not talking to you, Mark, or any specific person. I'm just saying, if someone is really going to do the whole Christian thing, it's really just to go completely 1,000% or just hang it up and forget it. And the way you go 100%, 1,000% is you have to have direct experience of God, like all the people did in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Jesus is there showing himself to people literally with your direct eyes. Right. You need everybody who wants, to be a religious person, a spiritual person, needs to say, God, you need to do that to me now. You need to show yourself to me like you showed yourself to other people. So there's no messing around. Show yourself to me like you did to Paul on Damascus Road. So there's no screwing around here. So I can be a real believer, not one that's, where culture can kind of mess with my mind. I can get fake science, and all of a sudden I'm thrown off my spiritual path because I'm questioning, or I hear some atheist argument, and how many people say they're strong believers and they hear one atheist argument and then they're thrown completely off course. I'm like, they weren't ever, their house is built on sand. I mean, and the point of this is that there's nothing better than escaping. This is kind of I hold the position this is kind of a dark reality. It's a biblical position. Yeah. Reality is messy. John 16:33. This world will give you trouble, Jesus says. So I can assume everybody in the world has troubles. But there's an escape. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I've always said that this world seems to be 99.9% conflict. It was a running joke that I had, like from the Joe Walsh song. You're old enough to remember. Life's Been Good. where he was talking about the life of a rock star. And it's seriously, you look around anywhere, and it doesn't matter how beautiful, how powerful, how rich, how talented you are. There is always, always huge amounts of things to complain about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's seriously, bliss is very, very difficult to find in this world for most people. Anyway, go ahead.
Wow, man, that's exactly the point I'm trying to make.
Oh, okay.
Well, whether I'm a jail pastor now, which is just the most. This is kind of really what this is a God thing, and I was brought there for a reason. So I'm seeing real hardship. It's rock bottom, everybody, all the time. Yeah. But really, you get out of the jail. I was there working today for a number of hours. You get out, and everybody's confused, doesn't know their head from their tail. Yeah. Fighting with each other, spiteful, vindictive. To find a person that's really moved by the Spirit, right, is very rare.
Very rare. Yeah.
And a lot of times when we see someone like that, they just get scorned, and
I know, because they don't fit in at all.
Yeah.
Well, look at the line. I hate to use a line from The Matrix, but it was really
it was one of my favorites.
Really well written, where he goes, where he was talking about the first Matrix, how it was designed to be perfect and no one bought it, and then he goes, and then we realized that human beings seem to define their reality through misery and suffering, which is why it was redesigned to this. And it's like,
I forgot about that. Yeah,
it's pretty much spot on. Look at the old billionaire. Well, he would have been a billionaire. Getty, 110-room mansion. And he rips out all the phones and puts in pay phones because he hated the fact that his guests were making long-distance calls. It bothered him so much. And you hear this time and time again. When people, it doesn't matter what position of power. There's always, again, the Joe Walsh song. I loved it so much. It's like because everyone idolizes the life of a rock star, and yet. Mm-hmm. They have the same problems as, not to use a rap song, but more money, more problems.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just working in the prison today, like I was saying. And I was just talking to my wife about this, and I thought this revelation, this realization kind of came on me, because I'm really fascinated with monasticism, monks living in the mountains and praying all day and doing Christian meditation techniques and stuff all day. I'm really interested in that. And I do some of that at night myself and so forth, as many nights as I can. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking I've had this tremendous time of spiritual growth. I'm not trying to toot my horn. I prayed for it, and it was answered. That was last August, and it's been continual since. I believed it would happen, and it has. But it's been coupled with this unbelievable frenzy of busyness. Like I was saying to you, Mark, just before the show, you're like, let's do a sound check. And I'm like, I can't get there, because I had some craziness going on. Yeah. And it's been like that continually. And there's been a little bit of hardship, no tragedies, but kind of like lingering, things that just are nagging at you. Right. And I was saying to my wife, and I was saying it to an inmate today that I was working with. And I said, you know what? This time of frenzy has been associated with this unbelievable growth, revelation after revelation from God, and just, more and more hunger for Christ. And, I'm thinking, what am I sitting here? I'm always thinking I got to go on some kind of vacation or, sit in the monastic retreat. That's not it. And I think Jesus, he was moving around doing his thing. He didn't even have a house, so anyway, I don't know. It's just, the point, I guess, is that it's almost like we have to distrust all of ourself. That's in 1 Kings 8:38. It talks about yourself as a plague. We have to almost question everything about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I see your note there. Okay. It's then we can come to the truth. And what's the truth? It's the opposite of the world. I take the Bible as being this ultimate engineering schematic blueprint thing, which I'm just trying to figure. That whole debunkingatheism.net website is what I'm trying to do there. I'm trying to figure out what is this technical book that people aren't even getting. Christians are even questioning it. You think, there's this contradiction here. No, there's not. You've just simply overlooked the most simple thing, that the sixth commandment God wasn't talking about himself, so he can command people to kill, and it's not sin. And maybe we may find that disturbing in our worldly minds, but no, it's like we live in the Matrix. That's what this whole reality is, like this computer program. That's what predestination theology is. So anyway,
we should talk about predestination if we get a chance. We got 20 seconds till we're going to break, so let me tell everybody we are talking with Jeffrey Grupp. We're talking about just about everything under the sun tonight. And anyone who wants to call in, I mean, right now you're just going to be calling and listening because I'm not going to take calls until Jeffrey gets tired. And that may not be for a while.
Yeah, I don't get tired much.
I know. So 3 minutes, we'll come right back and keep talking with Jeff, and just don't go anywhere. And there's the music. So Pank Talk. Welcome back to Strange World, part 4 of 4. We have Jeffrey Grupp. We're talking about all sorts of stuff, and we will take your calls. However, I got to say it, that was Joe Jackson stepping out from his album, Night and Day. Jeff, by the way, I never asked you, do you mind being called Jeff, or is it Jeffrey most of the time?
I'm actually going by Jeff now.
Are you?
Yeah, that's a ministry thing, but the whole Jeffrey thing, I never really went by Jeffrey. It just kind of, my first book, Corporatism, was Jeffrey. I don't know how it got taught, and then it kind of caught on. I never really liked it, and I just felt kind of haughty. And with ministry, it's all about being poor and needy, as it says in the first verse of Psalm 86. So yeah, Jeff is simple, and I like that.
Right. I mean, no, you're absolutely right. Oh, Jeffrey.
Yeah, exactly. Forget that.
He's summering at the Hamptons this year,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's pick up a few calls if you don't mind. Some of these people have been hanging on for a long time, but let's pick up a few calls, and then we'll just kind of deal with this last segment as best we can. All right, let's do 231. Thank you for hanging on the line for a long time, but you are now on the air with Mark and Jeff. What's happening? And they were hanging on so long that they hung up. They hung up. They got scared like a cat.
Yeah.
All right, fine. You want to be an indoor cat? You got to go outdoors sometimes. All right, let's try it with this. May be a short call segment if this is how it keeps going. How about 304 area code? I felt sorry for the one from Australia that called in because I didn't pick him up, but it's like, Jeff's talking. All right, let's go to Canada. Let's go to 905 area code, drawn with Mark and Jeff. What are we talking about up there in Ontario, eh?
Oh, doing great. Thank you, eh? So I just want to say thanks, guys. Mark and Jeff. Fantastic.
Not sorry.
And I'll keep it short. No, I did apologize earlier, but in the chat. But I just got to say that I used to think I was an atheist, and it turns out my religion was scientism.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a lot of faith in science.
Yeah.
Nice.
That it's as close to faith as you can get if you don't believe in that stuff. But when you look into it, it's a lot different. But take the next caller, guys.
That was it. That's all you got.
Love Joe Jackson.
Well, I got something good on that.
What do you got? What do you got?
Great point. That caller is hitting a huge issue that people often kind of don't think about much. And let me tell you how little people think about. Okay, so if you go to that new page I made, debunkingatheism.net, which just links you to my website, this debunking atheism stuff I have up, you'll see the radio show there with Iran Ra, very well-known atheist, and then the Non Sequitur show. The same issue came up on both shows, but especially on Iran Ra's show. And he started saying faith is the most irresponsible. This is the same thing Matt Dillahunty does. Faith is absolutely irresponsible. How can you want to just believe what makes you feel good and blah, blah. And I just said to Iran Ra, I said, hey, I hear what you're saying, but where is that in the Bible that says that faith is believing just in things that feel good? And of course, the answer is nowhere. And the Bible is very clear on what faith is. Faith is not something like believing in Santa Claus. Faith is direct experience of God. That's Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the evidence of the unseen. And there's several verses right along the same lines about how faith is an experience, not a wish or a Santa Claus fantasy or something like that. And so the point is that you get atheists all over the place attacking Christians about this idea of that faith is, just a hope or some idea. You conjure up some bogus belief that based on no experience, like almost like a paradigm point in your almost like a data point in your paradigm set. And it's not even biblical. So you get Christians and atheists battling this out in whole 3-hour radio shows, and they're talking about something that's not even real. All you do is just pick up a couple of passages in the Bible, and you find out that the faith, the bogus, ridiculous faith out there that's believing in absolutely nothing and believing things because they feel good, is Lawrence Krauss, is Richard Dawkins. It's I mean, go ask Lawrence Krauss where he comes up with his definition of nothing. He just made it up. And
don't forget Sagan.
Pardon?
Friggin' Carl Sagan. He was the worst.
Yeah, these are the people,
because we're all a speck of nothing.
Yeah, the garbage faith that Christians are accused of having, which isn't even biblical, and most Christians are so clueless about Christianity in their own book that they don't even know this. That faith is actually practiced by the scientific community. That is the number one area in the world where that junk Santa Claus faith is practiced, and it goes by names like graviton or Oort cloud. Just take anything in science. I'm sitting here trying to think of what's the most well-known thing in science that you can think of. Edge of the universe.
I just gotta
super
say,
strange.
I'm personally not a fan of organized religion, but creation all the way.
Well, organized religion is just
anything.
a nightmare. I mean,
it's horrible.
And I mean, what do I mean by that? I just mean go look at what it says in the Bible about organized. I mean, those are the people that killed Jesus before he was rose again by the power of God. It was the church people that killed him. I mean, his own disciples couldn't even. He says, "Stay awake while I pray," and they all fall asleep. And then they go deny who he is right at the footstep of the crucifixion. So the point is the church was a nightmare then. The religious people were a nightmare then, and they're a nightmare now. So it really, I mean, and Jesus knew that, and nothing's changed. So I mean, a lot of people go into Christianity and say, "Oh, Christianity is such a joke. The Christians are so ridiculous." And I'm like, yeah, but what about God? Who cares about it? The Bible tells that very fact that the religious people are kind of a mess. Who cares? Do you want the power of God? Do you want to be enlightened? Do you want to have joy and spiritual? Do you want to have salvation, spiritual salvation forever? And it can start right now. Psalm 13:5. David says, "I rejoice in your salvation." 1 Samuel 2:1. Hannah's prayer. She says, "I rejoice in your salvation." This isn't future. This is now that we can start this. This isn't some while, where are you going to be when you die? Let's try to scare everybody into worshiping God. No, this is like, it's kind of analogous to Buddhism. Buddhism is about, we want to have an experience now. Well, so is Christianity. It's about you let go of your life and let the creator of everything enter into you and control your mind. And let me tell you, that will be a good experience. How could it not be? So anyway.
All right. Hey,
better than do as thou wilt.
Oh, yes. Very good.
Love you, Mark.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, the sundogs. That's a big deal, right? I mean, there's just another. I mean, the thing is why that's so big is it says right there in a couple of the Psalms, like 19:1, the heavens declare your handiwork. And man, I've always just thought. I mean, there's only a few things. I mean, Christianity is a religion of faith. I mean, when atheists and Christians debate, the atheist is always like, "You don't have any scientific proof." Then what I was saying on the Non Sequitur show and on a Ron Ross show when I was on in January, I'm like, well, of course there's no proof, because in the Bible says we walk by faith, not by sight. What that means is, if you couple that with other verses in the Bible, we walk by experience of God, not by our physical eyes. So I mean, all the atheists is doing by saying there's no scientific proof is simply backing up what the Bible already says. If you find scientific proof of the existence of God, you're going to have trouble, because that's going to conflict with the Bible. The Bible is very clear that you are reaching into heaven. 3:20, we're citizens of heaven. And then Colossians 3:1 and 2 say, keep your mind in heaven, not on earthly things. Well, okay, right there, because that's where the evidence is, in the supernatural, not in this, corrupt, fallen matter down here on earth, on the earth plane. So, yeah, I mean, it all fits together. I mean, it's just people don't see it. That's Job 33:14. The Lord is speaking, but people don't hear. Amazing.
Hey, Mark, before I let you go, I've got a quote for you from the Peanut Gallery that's more unusual than is usual. Wow, it's unusual. You ready? There we go. For wisdom, in fact, Jeff might know this one. For wisdom is more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Proverbs 8:11. Yeah. We can get biblical on this show. All right. Anyway, we got to say goodbye to you, Mark, because I have a few more calls.
All right.
Pick up,
bye, guys.
All right.
Hey,
talk to you
take
soon.
care.
All righty. Awesome, man. Good show.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Let's jump over. This one's been waiting. Wow, 80 minutes. Let's do 920 real quick. It's going to be a fairly short call because I want to do rapid fire till the end of these. What's going on, 920?
A philosopher once asked, "Are we human because we gaze at the stars, or do we gaze at them because we are human? Pointless, really. Do the stars gaze back?" Now that's a question. Hello.
Well done.
Yeah, that's
well
good
done.
stuff.
And of course, your accent gives you away, my dear. You are from
No, I can't do much about that.
Belarus, perhaps?
Yes.
Yes. That's fine.
And
I
that
won't
was
hold-
an opening quote from a movie, Stardust.
Nice. And I was a fan of that movie. I thought it was very well done and dark for a it should look, from you could make a trailer to make that look like a family friendly film, but it's definitely not meant for kids, I don't think.
I'll check. Yeah.
You ever seen Stardust? If I'm thinking of the right one.
I'm trying to think
right?
if I have or not. I probably have. I mean,
we're all basically it's a rite of it's everyone is killing each other to get to the heir to the throne, and it's like a Disney film that even Buena Vista probably wasn't going to put out. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I'll check it out. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's quite an all-star cast. It was one of those movies that surprised me back in the day. I'm pretty sure I've got it saved in my my all-time favorite hard drive. What can I do with you real quick? I can only keep you for probably another 30, 45 seconds. What's happening? I'm sorry. I know you've been hanging on. Go ahead.
Back to the beginning of the show, where we're talking about God killing people.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I never really understood, and I read over this passage multiple times, but I've never saw it until I got into Rob Skiba's stuff. Genesis 15 talks about how God makes a covenant with Abram, and after that, God tells him, his descendants going to be as many as the stars in the sky and the grains of the sand, and all that good stuff. And then he talks about before even Isaac was born, that they're going to be in foreign land for 400 years, servants there, and then they're going to go out, and they won't inherit the land where they came out of until the iniquities of Amorites are fulfilled. And that's kind of makes me think that perhaps, God doesn't just blindly kill people, but there's a reason.
I'm keeping you. I'm not kicking you off. You get to stay. Keep going.
And the reasons why. Shoot, I lost my train of thought.
You're saying God doesn't blindly kill people.
Right. The reason why he didn't wipe them out beforehand, perhaps there was still hope for them until a certain point where there was no more, what do you call it? I'm looking for a word and I can't find one.
That's all right. Use the Russian word if you have to.
I think in English, and I'm kind of stuck between the two languages. I can't.
Okay.
Basically, before that, there was still hope, but whatever they were doing, make him unsavable. And that's when he said, okay, now go and inherit that land, and now you can do it, because...
All right.
Just a thought.
No, that's good. I thought weren't you like really, really shy and like didn't want to call in ever?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What happened to that person? I remember that person. I don't know what happened. Hey, by the way, Peanut Gallery chimes in. Peanut Gallery chimes in and he says, "Thou shalt not murder." And he was very specific about that. He goes, is there a difference between killing and murder? Jeff?
Well, that's what, that's one of the, see, the different translations use both words. Depends if you're in King James or NIV or whatever. And that's one of the explanations out there to say, oh no, the words mean different things, especially if you go back in the history. Well, that causes a problem then, because Christians like myself want to say that the word is alive and it always applies perfectly to whoever is reading it, giving them exactly what they need to hear at any moment that they're reading it. It's a super, these are, John 6:63 says the word, it's not, this isn't information. This is power and this is spirit. That's what the Bible describes itself as, being power and spirit, right, not information. And so, I mean, I just trust it. And I mean, if you go read, I mean, okay, you can, if you want to hold the murder, killing, whatever, these are theories that are out there, go read my paper. And I made a YouTube, if you want to download the YouTube video, if you put it on in the car or something, you can bypass all that and get right to my explanation is that my explanation is very simple, that God wasn't talking about himself as a command to people. So sin is if you break that command. If God does it, humans are too stupid. They can't be responsible for when lives come and go. God is in the predestined, this computer program or reality we live in, a predestination. God is the one who knows what to do, not humans. So humans should be forbidden from that, and they're commanded not to, but God can. That's a Calvinist. And again, if you're disturbed by Calvinism, go to my website, go to the Calvinism section, check out my paper, God's Pre-Election Knowledge of the Soul, and my video, Fullness Calvinism. Those, I think, in my opinion, tell exactly what's really going on with Calvinism and why it's the only way things could be. And it really makes a lot of sense, and is what a God of love is going to do. It's not what you think. It's not. Calvinists kind of have it all backwards. They're not looking into it as deeply as they need to.
Nice. All right. On that note, Miss Belarus, I have to let you go because we got to close out the show. Okay. Is that fine?
That's all right.
Okay. We'll talk soon. Okay. See ya. Cut her off. Sorry about that. And on that
thanks
note,
for having me on.
I'm sorry. So, Jeff, where would you like anyone to go? Real quick plug.
Oh, praiseandlove.net is my website. And everything's free. There's no book to buy. I mean, you can buy if you want, but everything's free. Everything in the book, all those papers on there, free. It's just really meant to be just trying to get to the truth of things.
Nice. Fantastic. Thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Stay on for just